right, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record with Chief LaRon L. Armstrong and Deputy Director Kiana Suttle. We're talking about staffing. That's a hot topic right now, Chief. Let's go straight into it right now. You have 600 and some odd officers right now. How many do you have?
684.
684. But you should be able to authorize to have how many?
I'm authorized to have 792 officers, but 55 of those positions were frozen in the last budget.
What does that mean, frozen?
That essentially means that the department cannot hire 55 officers, that the salaries that would pay those officers have been diverted to other city services. And so really is a challenge. It leaves our authorized hiring number at 737.
All right, crime is up. You have 110 homicides. If you had 100 and so more extra officers on the street, you think you would have a better handle on things? I know it can't stop everything, but what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think with those additional resources, I think we definitely can do a lot more. And what I believe is the most important use of those resources is violence prevention. Officers can prevent crime as well as a deterrent. Putting officers in areas where we see an increase in violent crime is a way in which we could deter people from committing crime. We also could do some of the things that I really like to do. Enhance our walking. Have more officers walking on foot in our community, in our business districts, where people in our community could actually get to know their officers. Right now, our resources are stretched so thin that all we're doing is running from call to call, and it doesn't allow us to actually engage with community. I think that's what we want to do as a department, is to begin to engage with community in a way where we are working together to solve problems in a community policing fashion.
And I know we're going to talk about recruiting and those things, and Deputy Director, you'll speak to that here in a second. But Chief, let's go back to what you're talking. You're saying running call to call to call. What does that actually mean to people? Some people don't understand what that means.
That means that when officers clear one call, there are several other calls waiting for officers to respond. On a typical night, we have over 100 calls standing. That is community members that have called in for assistance, are looking for an officer to respond to a crime that has occurred that they want to report, but they've been waiting a significant amount of time for an officer to actually show up. And so having more resources allows us to respond to these calls much faster. It allows us to actually practice some level of preventative patrol. I think that is a data-driven approach. Where you see crime increasing, having a police presence there helps to prevent that crime, helps to deter those that want to commit crime in that area, and we're unable to do that at the level we'd like to right now.
And if a critical incident happens, does the wait time go up?
Yeah, when we have a critical incident like a shooting or a homicide or some serious crime would occur, it takes more than one resource. It takes several resources to actually investigate that crime, to actually follow up and look for the person responsible for the crime. And so when you have 110 homicides, that is a significant drain on your resources. When you have over 400 shootings, that is a significant drain on police resources. And so as a department that has limited resources, responding to critical incidents depletes those resources really quick, and then it means that for those that need help, their calls go standing for several hours.
All right, we're going to come back to that here in a second, but Deputy Director, you're joining us. We're talking about bringing people into the department. We want to bring people, and I know that'll make the chief happy, and it'll make the department happy, it'll make the city of Oakland happy. What kind of things are you guys doing in your section to bring more people into the department?
Excellent question, Paul. So the department has increased its recruiting efforts, prioritizing the hiring of women and people from diverse cultural backgrounds. We have also resumed testing in the city of Oakland. We have strengthened our partnerships with Merritt and Laney College so that we can recruit people from the Merritt College Pre-Academy and also some of the athletes that are at Laney College. We continue to partner with community organizations in order to recruit officers from the city of Oakland. So we are just working diligently to increase our recruitment efforts.
Is there any emphasis to bring people actually from the town, from Oakland, to the department?
Yes, so we are looking for people who live in Oakland or have a connection to the city of Oakland. We want people policing the city of Oakland who understand the cultural and diverse needs of the Oakland community. So that is definitely an emphasis that the department is focused on right now.
And you guys held like some kind of call to action, call meeting where people can just check in with their families on Zoom. Is this something like that you're thinking about doing again in the future?
Yeah, so we are constantly having Zoom recruitments. We've had recruitment events via Zoom that focus in directly on the hiring of women. We continue to work with our recruiting and background unit so that we are not only recruiting out in person, but also virtually as well.
Chief, you actually attended that first meeting. I know you did a greeting about that. Is that important? A different way to reach out to people in the community, meeting people where they are?
Yeah, I think it's so important that we take advantage of the virtual environment. I think having families attend with potential candidates for police officers is also critically important. I think oftentimes family members want to know what their loved one is about to take on. Is this the right fit for their loved one? And I think it's important to share information not only with the candidate, but the candidate's family. I also think one of the things that is unique about our recruiting efforts is right now we are also investing in recruiting at our HBCUs, our historically black colleges. And so we'll have staff out next week actually in Atlanta visiting some historically black colleges and recruiting. I think it's important that the Oakland Police Department not just limit itself to the city of Oakland, but also recognize that there are so many people who would be great for our city, people who come from diverse backgrounds, people who come from similar communities that could be a benefit to the city of Oakland. And so really offering these opportunities throughout the country at universities, particularly HBCUs, I think is a benefit to the organization. And I look forward to several, hopefully, potential candidates signing up.
And Chief, you know firsthand about being from Oakland, coming to the department. What kind of advantage does that give you, or why do you want people from the city? I know you want people in general, but why specifically go for people from Oakland?
I think everybody that is out there that knows anything about Oakland, Oakland is just a different city. Oakland is its own community. And I think people from Oakland understand our city. They understand the values of our community, and they understand how we connect with one another. I often say that in many spaces, there's 6 degrees of separation between people. Oaklanders will tell you there's probably 2 degrees of separation in the city of Oakland, because that's how close knit we are. And so I just think that I've had the true benefit of having relationships that I had grown through the years of growing up here that I brought with me when I entered the organization. Those relationships are critically important. People who I went to high school, and I must shout out McClymonds High School, my McClymonds Mac family, and those relationships I bring with me, and they know from growing up with me the kind of person I am. And you oftentimes think about when you call 911 and you have an emergency and you know you need law enforcement, who would you like to respond? Would you like that person to be somebody that you know? Would you like that person to be somebody that you trust or that you have confidence in, that could come in and help you and make the right decision? I would say yes. It is, it's not an easy moment in anybody's life when they actually have to pick up the phone and call 911. And for a community that has not trusted law enforcement, I think it's important when you have people that you do trust respond in uniform and come out and do this job the right way. So I really believe that Oaklanders make great cops. I think it's something that I believe has been a true benefit to me, and I hope that other people take on this opportunity.
And I'd be remiss if I don't say there have been some blemishes on the department. What are you doing to make sure that that doesn't happen? Are you doing anything different? Do you do things different than the previous chiefs to weed out people to make sure that the right people are coming to Oakland?
Yeah, I think that's so critically important. To change culture, it really starts with who you bring into the organization. And so one of the things that I instituted that no other past chief has done is actually start a chief's interview. So essentially, even though candidates pass the testing processes, the final step in the process is actually that candidate coming up to my office and being interviewed by me or one of my executive team members. Essentially, we want to know, who are you as a person, and are you the right fit for Oakland? Simply because you are a good fit for a police department or you've passed a test doesn't necessarily mean you're right for the city of Oakland. I want to have those one-on-one conversations. I want my staff to have those one-on-one conversations to understand who these people are and why they chose the city of Oakland to be the city that they wanted to be a police officer in. I think that's important because when we put our signature at the bottom of that form, it says that we believe that they're a good fit for our organization. I think that's important. We also can reinforce our values with them. this is who we are as an organization, and these are the type of people we want joining our organization. That was the first step. I think the other step is having clear and direct communication with our staff. I have been very clear with this organization about what I will and will not tolerate. And there's certain behavior that is not acceptable within the Oakland Police Department any longer. And I think me having the opportunity to say to people that if you want to work here, there's certain values that you have to have. There's certain ways in which you need to behave. And if you're not willing to cater your behavior towards our values, if you're not willing to follow the guidance that we're given, then maybe this is not the right place for you. And we're okay with that. We want people to come to this job every day and do it the right way. We want people that respect this community, and we want people that want to be a positive reflection of the Oakland Police Department and not blemish this hard, this job that is already so difficult for so many that are out there working hard every day. They don't deserve for people to come into this organization and do things that are inappropriate or unjust or unfair. It's not fair to the men and women that actually come in here and do it the right way, but it's most importantly, it's not fair to this community. They deserve better. They deserve the best police officers that we have to put out there in the field.
And Director Suttle, you're from Oakland as well, correct?
That's correct.
And you said there's an emphasis going after female officers. What are you guys doing to do that, to make sure that happens?
Yes, so
females to bring to the department to become officers.
Yes, so we do have a heavy emphasis on women in law enforcement right now. Many of our staff in the recruiting and background unit are female officers who have been with the department for some time. They go out to either in-person recruitment events or Zoom recruitment events, and they talk about their personal experiences being a woman in law enforcement here in the Oakland Police Department. They answer questions that prospective candidates may have. They form a network with these people even before the hiring process begins, so that if they have any questions or concerns, they can actually talk to one of our female officers and get that firsthand knowledge and experience about what it's like.
And you also take part in those chief interviews as well, right, before they pass along. What kind of things are happening in those conversations? Can you just, I know you can't give me all of it, but can you just give me a little bit of what people are talking about and what you guys are looking for?
Yeah, so we are looking for people to be honest and transparent. If you've had challenges in your life that you have overcome, we want to hear from you in your own words, how you've overcome those challenges and how you can be an asset to the organization and a benefit to the community of Oakland.
And I know you're working with radio stations, Chief. I hear your voice from time to time on the radio, see it on social media. Just another way to talk to people?
Yeah, but you also want people to know that these opportunities are available. OPDjobs.com. You can go to OPDjobs.com if you're interested in applying. If you know somebody that would be a good candidate for a police officer, please refer them to OPDjobs.com. I think the best form of recruiting is word of mouth. Good people who want to do a very difficult job should be people that apply. People who have already shown a history of volunteering in their community. People who have shown a true desire to be a part of change in their community. I think they make great police officers. I think this is a calling, man. I really do believe that people who care about helping other people, you want to be of service. And I believe that, and I've told my officers many times, we are in the business of serving our community. And so I want people who want to serve and serve a community that is in tremendous need right now. And so, it's my effort to get our message out there as much as I can to really offset some of the negative things that people have heard about this organization. I believe that there are great people working in this organization. We're not perfect, clearly, and we've made mistakes, but I will say that I see a commitment every day on behalf of those that are members of this organization, that they want to do better and they want to change the perception about this organization and be seen as an organization that is actually progressive and making change and is the best police department in the country.
All right, now we're going to move over to talk about retention, but before we talk about retention, why are people leaving, Chief?
Well, I think there's a multitude of reasons of why people choose to leave. I think during the pandemic, I think that every profession is seeing an exit from their careers. People are trying career changes. I was literally listening to the radio this morning and hearing a story about so many that have chosen to take on different careers that they had before the pandemic. I also think that there are things that we've all seen across social media and in our media, that actions taken by police officers across the country that has shocked the conscience of everybody. And it makes people think, am I the right fit for policing? Is this the right career for me? I think it really comes down to being a part of the change you want to see. I really think if you want to see something different, it requires you to get involved. It requires you to be the police officer that you'd like to see. And so I really challenge everybody that would like to see something different in their community, to see police officers interact with community differently, to take on the challenge. I believe it is something that is rewarding. I believe it's something that is heroic and courageous. And so I say to anybody that think that they can do this job, that's interested in giving back, to take on the chance of being a police officer in the city of Oakland.
Your officers that are leaving, are you talking to them? Are you having an opportunity to say, hey, what's going on before they leave? Are you preventing anyone from leaving?
Yeah, we are having a lot of conversations with our officers prior to them leaving. We have what we call exit interviews to better understand the underlying reason why they might be leaving. There are so many factors that go into why people choose to leave. It could be family concerns. It could be where they live at and the proximity to their homes. But it also could be the workload. Oakland is a city that is very busy. We ask a lot of our police officers. There is a lot of oversight of our police officers. And so when you work here, you have to understand that it does come with a heavy workload. And that workload is not always a good fit for everyone. And I understand that. Also, we understand that there are other departments that provide some of the things that maybe people are interested in. Sometimes you go to larger departments that provide some specialized interests that you might have. But also some people actually feel better working in a smaller agency where they don't have so many calls for service, or they're not actually required to do so many different things. So I think there's a multitude of reasons. But I also think the culture of this department is changing. And I think that as people make a decision as to do they fit within that culture, some will make the decision to actually go to another department. And I think it's their choice. I think what's more important to me is that we get people in the pipeline who want to be here, who want to be a part of the cultural change that we're seeking in this department, but also want to be a part of making Oakland a safer city.
Retention, are you doing anything special to try to keep the people here that are here? You've got a lot of great people here, a lot of people that hear from the community how great they are. Yeah. What are you doing for your department? What are you both doing for the department to keep people here? And what is the city doing, if anything?
Well, what I'm trying to do is recognize officers' positive interactions, recognize the things that they're doing out there every day, the heroic actions that they're taking every day. So really encouraging my staff to make sure we're acknowledging good work, making sure that I give community an opportunity to compliment our officers. I have put that on our website. You can now compliment an officer. I think it's so important that officers hear from community about how they appreciate the way in which we interacted with them. I have been on the ground doing appreciation luncheons for our officers. I've been both here at our PAB, but also at our Eastmont station as well, just showing our officers appreciation. A couple of the things that I'll be doing moving forward is trying to enhance our health and wellness unit to allow our officers to have a space where they can relax and decompress after very difficult days at work. So we're going to expand our access to support and services, but also expand some of the things that we offer here at the department as opportunities for relaxation. So one of the things I will be doing is restructuring our health and wellness unit to include massage chairs that allow relaxation, additional TV and video games, so that when officers get off work and they are still coming down from an adrenaline rush that they've experienced for 10 hours, that they actually can decompress, take a deep breath, get their thoughts together before they go home. We want them to be in the right state of mind, even for their own families. even for people that they interact with in their own communities. I think when you have people that are in the right state of mind, that are getting the health and wellness support that they need, they come in a better mood and mindset to be able to provide the right service for our community. And so we're going to actually invest more in trying to make sure that we're listening to our officers, that we're actually being more responsive to their needs, and trying to improve what this work environment looks like and feels like on a day-to-day basis.
All right. Director Suttle, let's talk about, are you guys having any more kind of campaigns coming up? I know the chief said that you guys go to HBCUs, but is there anything else that's happening locally?
Yes, so we are partnering with 24 Hour Fitness, and we are going to have a recruitment campaign with them. We are also going back to the HBCUs. We have worked with the city's Human Resources Management Agency to be able to have an expedited testing process on site at the HBCUs so that we can address the written test, the oral interview, and even the physical ability test on campus, so that they don't have to fly back out here, that back and forth, to be able to do those things. So we continue to work on improving our recruitment efforts, our retention strategies, so that we can not only bring in good officers, but also keep the ones that we have.
Chief, anything else you would like to say or add about this?
No, I think it's clear, to me that our numbers have shown that there's been a huge attrition issue at the Oakland Police Department. It really says that we have to have a robust recruiting effort in order to fill our vacant positions. But also we want to do it in a way that allows us to get the right candidate. We just don't want anybody joining the police department. We want the right people. So we're going to continue to be focused in our recruitment efforts, starting with our local recruitment efforts, but also branching out into other recruiting efforts to try something new, to see if we can get a different candidate from a different area. So I really think, I thank my staff, I thank Director Suttle and her team for the things that they're doing, but this will come down to community, really. Like I said, the word of mouth is the best way to recruit. And if you know good people, please refer them. We're trying to change the culture of this department, but it starts with who we hire and who we bring into the ranks of this department. So good people make good organizations. And so I look forward to some of you out there giving us somebody new and somebody that can help make us better.
And one quick last question. We talked about 55, I think you said, positions that are frozen.
Yeah.
Is there any leeway? Is there any wiggle room? Can they be unfrozen anytime soon?
Well, we'll continue to work with our council to see what is the appropriate direction that they're going to give. I think it's clear to us that the calls for service and all the things that we're being asked to do exceed our capacity. We look forward to new programs like the macro program that'll be coming online. Hopefully they'll take on some of our calls for service, but I still think we are still being asked to do a lot with very little resources. I believe that this community deserves an adequate public safety response. We have to be able to respond to people's emergencies. I think despite where you sit in this argument of defund or additional officers, I think at the heart of it, the goal is the same. It's for a safe community. It's for those in our community to feel safe when they call police, right? To feel like they get an adequate response, to feel like every day we're doing something to make this city of Oakland safer. And I think my argument is that that is difficult with this number of resources. And so I'll continue to communicate my concerns to the council, but I'll also continue to work with alternative responses to help fill the gap.
And also, I just thought about this. So a city the size of Oakland, should they have more than 800 officers? When I'm looking at the stats in other departments that are smaller, or excuse me, cities that are smaller, they have a lot more officers to deal with and work with. Is that an adequate number, 800, or is there supposed to be more?
Well, we've had staffing studies that says that this department should be larger, should be between 11 and 1,200 officers. But I think for us, the starting point is just trying to get to full staffing. I think that's where we want to start. Let's get to full staffing. Let's see what it looks like to have a full complement of Oakland police officers, and then we can have further discussion about what it takes. Oakland is the smallest police department for a city this size for the violence that we see in this city every day. I think everybody has to acknowledge 110 homicides is far too much death, it's far too much trauma, it's far too much hurt and pain in our community. Not saying that police officers are the fix to that, and not saying that police officers are going to prevent every shooting or homicide from occurring. but I think it definitely helps to have some level of preventative patrols out there and allow the proper resource to be able to follow up and investigate these crimes as they're committed. The ability to go into communities and get on the ground and walk and get to know our residents of our community, to get to build relationships on the ground with our community. I think that's vital to public safety, and I hope that at some point we get the staffing that we need to be able to do that. The people deserve that. They deserve to know the officers that are working on their beats. You should be able to say that I know during this certain time, if I were to have an emergency, this officer would respond. People deserve that.
And again, to get that staffing, how do they apply? Deputy Suttle. Deputy Director Suttle.
Yes. So right now, our position of police officer trainee is a continuous recruitment. You can go to the City of Oakland Jobs website or directly to OPD Jobs and apply for one of our positions.
All right, and they have an opportunity. If they pass enough tests, they meet both of you.
They meet both of us. Also want to make sure they know that we also have our dispatcher positions open as well. So not only police officers, but for those that may be interested in being a dispatcher for our organization. A very critical part of the Oakland Police Department is our dispatch center. It's where it all starts. Those positions are continuously open as well. So not only police officers, but also our dispatchers as well.
All right, opdjobs.com. That's how you join the team. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. See you in 2 weeks.